Oh, it stopped. It stopped at the track was over at the perfect time. Hello, everybody. What is up? How are you doing? I need to stop stop the video here so that I don't see myself all the time because that's weird. How's everybody doing in the chat? Where are you guys from? Where are you guys watching from? Let me know. I was thinking, also thank you for tuning in, obviously. I was thinking we should start by brewing some tea. I have some green tea over here and a mug and some hot water at pretty much precisely 80 degrees because that's the green tea temperature. And now we let this sit for not too long because then it gets bitter. But I have the chat right here and you can ask me questions today and whatever you like. I actually, I didn't really plan it out too much because I was hoping you guys had questions for me. But yeah, let's see here in the chat. Welcome everybody. We have people from Colombia, Minneapolis, Germany, Brazil, Mexico, California, Belgium, Dallas, Netherlands, Bulgaria. Shoutouts to everybody. I'm in Canada right now in Montreal. Have been for the whole quarantine. Yeah. Let's see this tea over here. Also, have a jar with water. So stay hydrated, everyone.
The real question is, where are the vegetables?
Right. Let's start getting into these questions then. When did you decide that riddim was your preferred genre? It wasn't really like a decision. It was just kind of what I was listening to and I felt like I wanted to make it. And that's kind of also what sparked my interest in production in general because I was curious on how people make those tracks and I wanted to try it myself. And yeah, so that's how it all started. And I find that usually when you kind of have an incentive to start learning something, it works a lot better than when you're sort of like forced to. So yeah. Let's see, how do you get inspiration when stuck with a song? It's kind of a big topic, but I think there are always two sorts of like periods of unproductiveness, and one is like short term and the other one is kind of long term. So sometimes on the short term I feel like I'm stuck with one specific project or something, and that's when I would just go do something else for a little bit, like maybe go for a run, which is what I've been doing during the quarantine since like all the gyms have been closed and stuff. I don't know, get yourself some fruit to snack on, watch some YouTube videos, maybe some tutorials, maybe listen to some music. And I feel like, especially from listening to music, I always get so excited to get back to producing, and maybe I can like get inspired by those tracks and get some ideas from them. I now realize that there are a lot of questions, and if I take this long to answer each one of them, we're never going to be done with it. So I'm going to try to answer some of those questions with more brief answers. But to answer the second half of my answer, to finish the second half of my answer, for long-term productivity dips, I would say go and just sit down and do it and start doing it, and then you'll get back into the loop. If you always tell yourself like, I don't feel like making music right now, I don't have motivation, and motivation is not really something that magically just comes to you. Sometimes you just have to sit down and start doing it, and then it comes from you just kind of forcing yourself sometimes. So yeah, as much as it should always be fun, sometimes you just have to force yourself to get over that blockage in your head and start doing it. What other languages do you talk? I speak German. Guten Tag. Hallo. Wie geht's? Yeah. These words definitely prove that I speak perfect, fluent German. Anyway, I grew up in Germany for 20 years, so yes, that's it. Let's see. I gotta know if you've played a show in Minneapolis, what did you think? Yes, I have played a few shows in Minneapolis, and it's always a good time. So I love it. And there are vegan restaurants in the city. Yeah, nothing to complain about. It was a good time every time. Whenever I go to cities to play shows, I try to find some like, instead of like, because some people just like to go to like fast food chains or whatever that they could also get at home, but I really enjoy like checking out what like local vegan restaurants they have and stuff like that, and cafes too, and just go to a local spot and try that food, because you can get like such a good variety of foods, and you can like explore new foods that maybe you can then implement in your own cooking. Or in my case, since Andy, my wife, is such a good chef, I can tell her maybe she can get some inspiration from those things or something. Anyway, again, another super long answer for a relatively short question. I will never catch up to the chat, so I might have to skip some of these questions. I'm sorry if I skip yours. Phasers or flangers? That's a production question. I'll just say you can just choose one of those because they're both great effects. So I don't know, use both of them. Use multiple instances of each of them. Favorite artist at the moment, I have to say probably Akios, because their music is so amazing. And what's great about their music too is that the quality of it is just so on point that I feel like they've really taken that like classic sound and implemented like a super modern and punchy mix down, and it's really well done, and it's been super inspiring for me to like take my mix downs to the next level. And yeah, I've been getting super inspired by the style in general. Yeah, actually somebody said so viele Deutsche here, which means so many Germans in here, and that's amazing. Back when I was living in Germany, especially the city that I'm from, not a lot of people were into dubstep. And I know there's a kind of a big scene in Cologne, and that's awesome, and that's actually where my first ever show was as well. But yeah, it's amazing to see that the scene there is still growing, and that people like dubstep there. Yeah.
Shout out Jinx. Thank you for the $10. Big love.
Yeah.
Jinx.
Thank you so much for the donation. Did he say anything? Oh yeah, love you, INFEKT. Shout me out. Sinlick Music. Shout outs to Sinlick Music. Thank you for the donation. I really appreciate it. Your hair is still short, bro. Yes, I keep re-shaving it every like 2 weeks or so, because I just love the feeling of short hair at the moment. And when I want to wear hats, actually don't really need these headphones right now. So this one is my favorite bucket hat. And it's just so easy compared to when I had long hair. It was super annoying to have like the hair hanging out and stuff, and it was just messy. Whereas now it's so easy, and I love it. If you have long hair, I recommend going for a buzz cut. If you have the right head shape for it, because sometimes with head shapes it can be difficult when you get a buzz cut, but you'll find out when you get the buzz cut, and then you can have some months of short hair and then grow it out again. Try it out. It's nice. Can you speak some Spanish? I actually don't. My wife does, but I don't. I'm learning. I've been learning a bit more French though, because that's the language they speak here in Quebec. So I really want to, especially because I want to live here with my wife. So essentially, eventually, I want to get good at learning French. So at speaking French. So yeah, I've been like reading kind of like French stories to get better at it. And I've learned a bit of it at school too, but yeah. Somebody's asking what city I'm from. It's called Bayreuth in Bavaria. It's a very small city. Do you play any video games? A little bit. I sometimes like to play just for like an hour or two, just to get like just to do something fun for a little bit. I especially like playing games with friends because when I'm on my own, I just feel like I'd rather watch a YouTube video on my free time than to play a game for some reason, or maybe even do something else that's more productive. Because sometimes, like if I play too many games, I start feeling like I'm wasting my time in a sense. So I'd rather do something more productive. And since like making music to me is just as much fun as playing video games, I would rather do that in the end, you know. But each to each their own. Because in the end, like the reason why I am where I am now is because back when I was young, making music was fun for me, whereas for somebody else, like playing video games was fun. So it was just like what I was doing in my free time because it was fun for me, and that's how it still is now. And I'm trying to like sustain that for as long as possible. And that's why I also like to having like a very experimental approach to making music in general, because I think that that's how it's the most fun. I actually forgot to take the tea leaves out once again. So now my green tea is gonna be bitter. But it's all right. It's all right. It's not the worst. I didn't let it sit for like half an hour or something. I think it would be worse. I'm just letting this drip in here so I can remove the little basket. All right. Green tea. Cheers. It might be too hot. Nice. Let's see. Thoughts on upcoming artists? Yeah, actually, like for a while, maybe 2 years ago, I was sort of feeling like I haven't heard that much in that like riddim type of spectrum that was like super inspiring to me, just within that sound. Or let's say probably more than 2 years ago, maybe 3, 4 years ago. And now I feel like we're kind of going back to the roots a little bit and kind of modernizing it at the same time. And I love like what all those newcomer artists have been coming up with. And it's been like super inspiring for me to also keep improving and keep working on my sound, because it's kind of shown me what's possible, you know, and that's always motivating for me to know that there's kind of more to achieve in a way, without like necessarily wanting to compare myself too much. Um, but yeah, we have another donation from Jinx. You've been such an inspiration to me. I have an EP coming out soon with a couple INFEKT inspired tracks. Synlick music. Thank you again. It's the same person that donated the $10 earlier, so really appreciate the donations. Thank you very much. Let's see. Besides riddim, what's your favorite genre? I would say it's deep dubstep and wave. Wave, in case you don't know, is like a kind of like sad melodic trap in a way. And those are the two genres that like I buy music on Bandcamp all the time. And I'm kind of like growing my personal collection of music, and I like to buy as much as I can on Bandcamp to like support the artists and just grow my collection too. Um, and yeah, those are the two genres that I find myself listening to the most. Other than that, I still really enjoy lo-fi hip hop, vaporwave still, like Mallsoft and all that, because it's just like really good. So in case you don't know, vaporwave is like essentially what it used to be in the beginning was like slowed down 70s and 80s music, um, partly from like Japan and stuff, and then it kind of it just kind of went and progressed into all these different directions where now you have Mallsoft, which is a subgenre of vaporwave, and what it is like it makes you feel like you're standing in a mall and there is music playing on a small speaker somewhere far away, and there's like all this mall atmosphere going on, so it kind of like simulates you being in a mall, and it's just amazing background music. As ridiculous as it sounds, it's it's amazing. um and if you want to check some of that, there's an artist called Cat System Corp. um I don't know if it's a guy or multiple people. I think it's one guy. um Anyway, yeah, Mallsoft, one of my favorite genres. As ridiculous as it sounds, it's just so good to like put it on in the background and listen to it when you're like doing something else or whatever. Yeah, since I've been like writing quite a lot for my blog and things like that, I like to just put some background music on for that, and so like lo-fi hip hop and all that stuff is really great. And generally, I like listening to instrumental music because it doesn't distract me from my thoughts. So yeah.
Shout out Abe Music. Thank you for the 1,000 Costa Rican colognes. Legend.
Oh, what is that? I don't even see the donation, but thank you very much. I would read it, but I can't see it. Oh, there it is. Do you get any guilty pleasure on music? Guilty pleasure. Um, I don't really feel guilty for listening to any music in particular, because if I like it, I like it, and that's what it is. Um, yeah, even if it was something weird, there's no shame in that, you know? So, German question. Wie sieht das eigentlich aus? Du lebst ja in LA. Wann und in welcher Situation sprichst du noch Deutsch? It means basically, since I don't live in LA, but I live in Montreal. Um, at least I'm applying to live here permanently, since we got married here. Um, in which situations do you still speak German? So essentially, really only when I speak to my family, basically. So like when I call my mom, I speak German to her, but other than that, like not really anymore. And sometimes it's difficult to like switch back to German. Yeah, and at first it's always like so strange when I go back to German. Occasionally, I watch German stuff on Netflix and I listen to German audiobooks. Like for example, the pretty new show How to Sell Drugs Online on Netflix. Um, it's pretty funny to watch, but it's a German show, and it's pretty well made, and that's really rare for a German production to be this well made. So that's why I wanted to watch it, because it was just interesting to see what a studio outside of Hollywood being this good at production in a way. especially since it's German. So yeah, we have another donation from Gabe Castile. Yo, your music is sick and thick. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm glad you like it, and thank you for the donation. Do you listen to dark wave? I actually haven't heard of dark wave. Maybe I have heard it, but maybe it's a subgenre of wave. I'm not sure. Let's see. Tips on becoming vegan. Start slowly, maybe. Start gradually. Get into it. Watch lots of motivational stuff, like I would say documentaries. Go to restaurants if you can afford it to like get some inspiration for meals. Find like recipes for simple things you can make at home, because it really doesn't have to be more expensive than being a meat eater. Like sometimes I hear that being an argument, and I think it's not really true. Like you can be vegan on a budget essentially, and make sure that you get your nutrients. But most likely, when you're vegan, you're already getting more nutrients than when you're like eating meat all week and not really any vegetables or whatever. So yeah. Also try to like have it maybe as a challenge with a friend or something to keep you motivated to keep going, you know. Maybe do like who can do it longer or whatever, without being like without your ego like being too involved and being too like proud or whatever if you win. But yeah, in the end, it's a good motivation. We have a donation from Grez. Oh, that is the doorbell.
That's my package.
Right, I'm reading the donation. I'm glad you enjoyed Minneapolis. I hope you get to explore our city even more next time. It has so much inspiration to offer. Yeah, I actually can't wait to like start traveling a bit again and play some shows. And yeah, can't wait to go to Minneapolis again and eat some vegan food, meet great people, hang out backstage, drink some kombucha, and meet you guys at the shows. And yeah, that's actually something that like during this whole quarantine time, I'm sorry I keep spiraling off from the questions, but like just to tell some stories and stuff. During the quarantine time, like it's actually been kind of nice for me, as much as I appreciate having had the opportunity to play all the shows. One thing that having a little break from traveling has been really good for me is to get my health in order, like to get my sleep schedule like super on point. We always go to sleep at like 11 p.m. and wake up early in the morning. So for that, it's been great. But what I've been missing the most is like just standing on stage and getting the reactions on tracks and playing the new tracks out that I've been making and stuff, and just yeah, that feeling of like standing on stage and seeing the reactions to music that I made or that I like from other artists. And yeah, like I guess that's the feeling that we're chasing when we're like being DJs and stuff, and it feels really good. So yeah. Let's see. I'm so far behind with the chat. Let's see. The doorbell sounds like granular synthesis. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know who sound designed that. Actually, I'm pretty interested in that, like the people that design ringtones and sounds for doorbells and stuff like that. I'd be super curious to talk to those people, because like what do they look for do they have like guidelines or something when they design those kinds of sounds? And like, what are those? I want to know. Imagine being the guy that designed the ringtones for like iPhones, and then you walk around on the street and you hear that tone like everywhere. That must be a cool feeling. So yeah. And then I mean, there's so many sounds in general. Like I really value it when a brand puts like a lot of thought into every detail of their products, like the way that their sounds are, the way that like a lot of companies make laptops, but they don't really care about things like the speakers and stuff like that, which is part of the reason why I love Apple, because when they do something, they do it properly, in my opinion. I mean, it's debatable, and with some things, certainly they don't do it properly with certain things, but they aim for that, and I know that they put a lot of love into like the little details, like how their ringtones sound and things like that. And yeah, when like let's say like you buy a cheap electronic product and like it seems like it's a good build quality or whatever, but then you turn it on and it makes this really annoying beepy noise, that kind of ruins the product for me, you know? And I know it's like a first world issue or whatever, but I'm just like, just a thought that I've been having. Or like, let's say you buy, because I bought, for example, this little headphone amp because I wanted to drive these headphones. And it has this really, like, it's a really great amp, but when you turn it on, it has this like super bright blue light. And it's kind of like, why does it need to have that to tell me that it's on? It can be just like a very subtle little light or something. And I can also hear that it's on. I don't need an indicator for that. So that bright light, having that like on the side of my eye all day is just, it's unnecessary. And it kind of, in a way, like it ruins the product in a sense, but whatever. I'm sort of rambling now. um, let's see. Bro, Apple was better when Steve Jobs was alive. I disagree. I still love everything that Apple has been coming up with. Like, I bought one of the new MacBooks because, like, I wanted to have a machine that is like powerful for production, where that can like run my project and stuff. And like everybody was complaining about the fact that it only has like 4 USB-C ports and no traditional ports. But basically, like I just plug in a few plugs and all my stuff is plugged in. You know, my external monitor, my webcam, my microphone, everything is connected so easily. And when I want to leave, I just unplug those things, put it in my bag, and it's just very few connectors compared to before, where I had like a whole bunch of connectors and I had to plug everything in. And like, yeah, at the beginning it's annoying because you have to buy the dongles and whatever, but then once you do, it's so much better. And it kind of pushes people to do wireless stuff as well, which yeah, it's nice. But yeah, please do a mixdown tutorial video. um, I am at the moment, I've been working on something that I haven't really talked about much, which is a masterclass where essentially I want to teach you guys or give you guys the opportunity to learn pretty much everything that I've learned over the years about music production. And so on my Patreon, I've been like, if you're on my Patreon in the producer tiers, you can have access to that, and you can. I'm putting up classes, like new classes every month, and I've been writing like about all kinds of topics about music production, life as an artist in general, like some experience with like how to behave at shows and things like that, and just like basically everything around making music and touring and things like that, just the things that I've learned from my experience without it being like the ultimate guide or whatever, just like, let me mute my notification sounds, just like, yeah, everything that like the experience that I've gathered over the years to, this is not stopping, I have to close Discord. All right. Sorry about that. Um. Anyway, yeah, I've been working on that quite a lot, and I'm super excited to get it out because since the quarantine started, and I haven't been able to play shows, and that hasn't been like my source of income anymore. Essentially, the only reason why I could survive was because I had my Patreon, and I give out exclusive music there. I do lessons. I do like one-on-one lessons. I give feedback on productions, and now I also have the masterclass. Um, so yeah, I really appreciate all the support. If there's anyone from my Patreon in the chat, thank you very much for the support.
How can people find INFEKT's Patreon? Where do they go? What do they look for? What's it called?
It's patreon.com/infect.
Easy.
I didn't actually mean to push it as much here, but anyway, I just wanted to mention it since the question came up. But yeah. Infekt ist German? Ja. Könntest du bitte Deutsch sprechen? Ja, wenn mich immer jemand fragt, ob ich Deutsch sprechen kann, weiß ich immer nicht, was ich sagen soll. Aber hier, kurz Deutsch für alle die mich mal Deutsch sprechen hören wollen. So, that was a little German section right here. Nothing too interesting, so you're not missing out if you're not German. Dylan says, did I miss anything? Did this just start? You missed a little bit of me rambling about several different topics, but thank you for joining us now. This video will be up afterwards anyway, so if you want to rewatch the beginning of it, you can do that once it's up on the channel. So yeah. Riddim plus dubstep equals riddim step. Well, I would argue that riddim is still dubstep. Ooh.
You heard it here first, folks. Confirmed.
Yep. Let's see here. Hey, INFEKT, what synths do you use? I'm just curious because I use Spire. Spire. I feel like I've heard of it, but I haven't tried it. I use quite a range of synthesizers. I love the Maelstrom and Reason still because I use the Reason rack quite a lot. I still use Serum. I have Faceplant, but I feel like in a way it's less intuitive and less quick to get set up. So since I usually don't do that much inside the wavetable synthesizer, and most of my process is like resampling and then like just post-processing the sounds, I don't really need a super complex wavetable synthesizer itself. So most of the time I just use Serum because I know how to use it. It's quick. I'm pretty efficient. I can like get a good sound out of it as a basis for my post-processing process. So yeah. And the same thing applies for Maelstrom. And then I use a lot of grain synthesizers. So like granular synthesizers, that's what the word I was looking for. So like the grain synthesizer is called Grain, and in Reason is really good. Grain Scanner in Ableton from Extra Life, Pad Shop. Although Pad Shop is a pain to install, but once you have it, it's great. What else is there? Quanta. I wouldn't necessarily recommend Quanta because it's not as feature rich as others. There's Form by Native Instruments. That one is really good. And yeah, it just kind of takes your sound even further and makes it kind of more unique and harder to recreate in a sense. Yeah. All right, let's see. Watch some videos on YouTube with us. What kind of videos? Let me know. Let's see. DT770 Pro is still good. And I saw another question about asking what headphones I'm using. Yeah, these are the Biodynamic DT770 Pro, 80 ohm. They're pretty great. Yeah, they're really good. I like them a lot. And it took some getting used to at the beginning because I thought I didn't really like studio headphones as much because they typically don't really have as much bass. And I like a pair of headphones that is fun to produce with. But then I got these because I kind of wanted to hear some more detail in my mixes in order to like take them further in a sense. And I got them with these. I changed the ear pads, and they're kind of these foam fake leather ear pads, and they kind of isolate the sound a little better because it gets quite noisy around here because there's often construction outside and stuff. So yeah, these work really well, and they isolate it well, and the bass is really good on them. I do recommend using them with the SonarWorks software because it makes them a bit more flat, like the frequency response more flat. Because by default, they're quite heavy on the highs on the high end, and I find that they're a bit too sharp. So the SonarWorks software just kind of like evens it out, and it's a SonarWorks like sonar and then works. Yeah. Somebody's asking where I learned to speak English that well. First of all, thank you for saying that my English is good. And secondly, just basically, well, I started in school because in Germany we start learning English in, I think, second or third grade of the elementary school. But that's kind of like a very formal English, and everybody has like a very heavy German accent, of course. But then just by using it and speaking to people, it's been getting better and better. And now that I use it more than German, yeah, it's been a good opportunity to learn it just by like being here all the time and speaking it all the time, and essentially learning everything that I learn in English too, and reading books in English and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot of things now that because I learned them in English first from like living in English essentially, I don't even know how to say them in German anymore. So like when I speak to my mom and I want to tell her about something that I learned or whatever, or that I'm interested in at the moment, I just have no idea how to say it in German. So I constantly like struggle to find the words. And yeah, it's kind of funny. What is your favorite species of fish? Interesting question. I don't think I have a favorite. Um, I don't really eat fish, so like I couldn't say like taste wise what's my favorite, if that's what you're asking. But like looks wise, I also don't really have an answer. I'm sorry. Let me drink some water. Let's see here. Valentin redet aber noch etwas mehr Deutsch als du, right? Which means Val, virtual right, is still speaking a bit more German than you, right? Yeah, because his wife is German too. They speak German to each other, so yeah. INFEKT, my man. How long have you been a producer? Since June 2011. That's when I basically made my first like track, which is a bit of a stretch because it sucked. But that's like the earliest MP3 that I basically found. So yeah, so about 9 years. Can you tell the story of how you joined Disciple? It was kind of similar as a story that the boys from Vandals were telling. Essentially, I was making music all day, every day, 24 hours. Okay, no, I still had to sleep, but I made music occasionally, and I released it. And I guess like because I made my music available, people got to hear it. People were talking about it. Um, and then I guess Myro from Disciple heard about it, and he was like messaging me and saying hello. I don't know if he said hello. I think he says more like, "Hey man," and then he was like, "Would you like to join Disciple?" And then I was like, "Yes, that is the story." And then they helped me massively with getting my visa to go to the US and to be able to play shows there. And yeah, from there, like, it's been honestly amazing working with them. And there are so many incredibly inspiring producers. And one thing that I always say that I love about Disciple especially is that everybody is like really determined to work and to get things done and like to keep pushing things forward. And yeah, I love that. And it's super motivating. And yep, I love being surrounded by people that are down to get things done, you know, because that also makes me want to get things done. All right, all right. Infect and Virtual Riot. That has already happened. It's up on Spotify. It's called Das Riddim. It's also in the playlist, so it might be coming up pretty soon. I don't know if you can hear the music very well right now, but yeah. Right now, I think it's what track is this?
Oh, I just switched over.
Help us out,
We
Dieter.
got Das Riddim on deck. It's queuing, coming in.
Das Riddim. Myself and Virtual Riot.
And that is German
The
for
German boys. Sorry?
Das Riddim? Is that a German phrase?
Well, yeah, das is essentially just the.
Okay.
The rhythm. The question is, since like we only ever use it in English, we don't really know what gender it would be in German. So we kind of just used das, even though it's not even clear if it would be the neutral gender. Because in German, you have 3 genders that you apply to every word. And not every word, but every object, everything. How do you call that?
Noun.
Every noun. That's it. And yeah, so we just took das for fun because it sounds funny. Infect and Outfect collab. Who is Outfect? Maybe it would be cool if he's good at making music. Any genre. Could be interesting. You never know. Let's see. Infect and Chibs collab. That could be interesting. I actually need to get on my collab game. Like I know that Nate Eliminate was saying that he's really bad at collabs, and I feel like I'm kind of the same way. Sometimes I just can't get them done. I can't finish them for some reason, and then they just kind of sit around for a while. Yeah. Do you always try to put some kind of story or message in your songs? Yeah, especially when I prepare them for release. So the way that I work most of the time is I make tracks that have like an intro that sets a tone. So something that creates atmosphere that kind of teases the bass line or the drop. And then when I prepare them for release, I like to kind of flesh them out, build a theme into them, and build some kind of message into them and make them kind of cohesive as a product, as an EP to put out or something. So yeah. Let's see. INFEKT and Achios. That would be sick, actually. I don't know why we haven't talked about it yet, but that would be nice. I'm down for that. Let's see. Outfect equals simply INFEKT songs played in reverse. I don't know how I would collab with that. Do I just like layer one of my tracks with one of my tracks reversed? Does that sound any good? Who knows? Maybe it would be an interesting challenge to make it work. But yeah. Bruh, the last two Roundtable EPs had no collabs. Yeah, that's true. I just have so many originals. And I love making originals and then kind of just putting them together as an EP. And yeah, I also like making collabs, but it's just that I like to like just make solo tracks and then put them together as a project and then put collabs out more as like singles or something like that. But I'm not against the idea of adding collabs to my EPs. I just like, it's just the way that it ended up playing out the last few times, you know. Anyway, what's your favorite meme, INFEKT? So this is actually kind of a meme that is in response to memes. And it was from this like Japanese show where they had a sign and that said something on it, and he bunked the sign on the table and he said, "This meme is already nothing but a memory." And that has to, and that's what it said on the sign too. And then his face was on the sign and he was making the same face at the same time. And that just has to be my favorite meme because it's like a meme about memes, you know, and it's perfect. Very meta. Let's see. Tell us a story of how you met your wife. So I played a show in Montreal, and the promoter of that show invited her to come to one of his shows, and he invited her many times, but she never really went, and she wasn't into dubstep. So that one time she decided to go, and she was in the backstage hanging out, and she was really standing out from everybody else because she didn't really know like the dress code or how people dress in the dubstep scene. So it ended up being, well, I started talking to her there, and yeah, that's how it started. And then we kept talking. We went for some poutine, which is a typical like traditional meal over here, which is fries with sauce and cheese. Back then I was still vegetarian, so we were able to have cheese, although actually she was vegan, so we had the vegan poutine, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, then we went for a walk and we just kept talking. And then when I went back to Germany, we kept texting, and she actually came to visit me, and that's how it all began. You know, now we're 3 years in. We got married, and yeah, the one thing that I found so amazing about the way that we worked together was that our conversations were so great. Like even when we were distant, we had the most amazing conversations, and that's something that means a lot to me, that I value a lot, and that we still have to this date, where like we can go for a 4-hour walk outside and we can just talk about anything, and it always makes me feel great, you know. I love it. Yeah, that's the story. let's see. What did inspire you to make Shopee? So the intro is inspired by the genre that I was talking about earlier, which is mallsoft. If you weren't there back then, it's essentially simulating you standing in a mall and some music playing on a speaker far away. So it was kind of imitating that sound for the intro because I love that genre and I love listening to it on the side. And yeah, so the intro was inspired by that, and the bass line was just me messing with sounds, essentially with sound design, and I came up with this like really gritty sound, and it ended up turning into a bass line, and I just liked how it ended up sounding. That's it. And actually, about the intro, there's not only mallsoft, but there's another subgenre of vaporwave that is kind of like, instead of in a mall, it's like as if you were in a grocery store. And rather than mallsoft, actually, that was the inspiration for that intro, because now I remember that I had those like grocery store samples in there where like I was speaking into a microphone as if I was a speaker in a grocery store. And yeah, I thought it was just a funny little idea. And yeah, I love vaporwave so much that it was just a good thing to do. We have a donation from Michael. Love you, Chris. You're so wholesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that comment. And thank you for the donation. Will you ever collab with Shivers? I'm down, actually. We should do that. Get some vocals. Yeah. Let's see. Infect and Disinfecto sounds dope. Is Disinfecto actually somebody's alias? I don't know.
Disinfecto. He's the guy with
It
the
does sound pretty
cool.
cool.
All the Insomnia
What?
streams.
With the Lysol.
Yeah.
Clorox in one hand and Lysol in the other.
He's a warrior, man. Cleanliness warrior. Shout out Disinfecto.
He blew up during the Corona crisis.
Shout out to Michael with a $5 donation. Or is that euros? Pounds.
Yeah,
that's euros.
It's euros. Cool. Yes. Thank you, Michael. Infect plus eliminate plus barely alive equals destruction. Destruction. Yes. Let us make a song together. Eliminate and barely alive. I'm down. Infect, did you use the bathroom this morning? For some reason, whenever I do a Q&A, people ask me bathroom questions. I don't know where it comes from, because I don't usually talk about my bowel movements, but thank you for asking, and I probably did. So yeah, because I'm human. Did you? What is your favorite video game? So somebody asked me if I play video games in general, but I didn't say which one was my favorite. I mean, it's cliche to say, but it has to be Minecraft, just because I played it so much since I started playing it, like from, I guess, like 2010 or 11. I always like came back to it here and there, and I played it so much with my friend in Germany that, yeah, I mean, has to be the one. But about like what I would be playing at the moment if I was playing a lot of video games, and the one that I have been playing the most, even though I haven't been playing much. Um, lately, I played the remake of Spyro because and also Animal Crossing with Andy, but we haven't been playing that at all lately. But the remake of Spyro is quite good. Um, if if you guys know the old like PS1 Spyro game, that was pretty sick, and just being able to like see all that in HD now was a pretty cool experience. Um, yeah. Hm. Früher immer nur Stussy hinter den Decks. That means like back in the days, I used to wear a lot of Stussy stuff when I was playing and just in general. And yeah, I really like the brand, and I still wear a lot of their stuff. Although I don't really buy that many clothes anymore, and if I do, it's usually from thrift stores. I have like a whole collection of long sleeve shirts from thrift stores. But yeah, I still have a bunch of stuff from their brand because I used to buy a lot of it, and it was always like good quality stuff, and that's why I bought it. And yeah, that's it. And I also like the designs, of course. But yeah, that's it. What's your opinion on dub plate slash ID culture? I mean, in a sense, it makes mixes interesting because you can hear stuff that like you wouldn't be able to hear anywhere else. And I think for an artist, that's really cool because they can show off stuff that isn't released yet and whatnot. Um, and yeah, I still like the idea of things being like exclusive in a way, but I do think that eventually everything should get released so that everybody can have access to it. Um, yeah, and that's the reason why I've been like putting basically everything that I make out on either Patreon or as label releases on Disciple, because I think that eventually everybody should have access to everything, and it's cool at the beginning to have like exclusive stuff, but then eventually everybody should have access to it. Like I said, we have another donation, $20 from Dirty Beats. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Big love, Dirty Beats. Thank you.
There's a little GIF in the donation. It says goal. I don't know if he picked that, but it's cool. Unfortunately, there's no message, so there's nothing I can read. But thanks for the donation. In what part of Germany did you grow up? In Bavaria. Somebody said that's really amazing, but I'm not sure what it was referring to. I'm sorry, but I'm glad you got something out of my answer. Some value. Anyway, you listen to Slush Wave. I'm not sure what that is. Is that a genre or a producer? Would you consider Virtual Riot on the same level of Skrillex when Skrillex was popular? How do you answer that? I mean, they're both super crazy producers, and they're both like pushing the sound forward like nobody else does or nobody else did. And well, and that's my opinion. But yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I don't really like to compare people like that, you know, because in the end, everybody is doing their own things, and as long as they're having fun doing what they're doing, that's amazing. And I think it's not really fair to put people on like close comparisons like that and say like who's better, who's worse, because in the end, it only makes people feel bad. Yeah. Do your glasses when you DJ? I guess that means if I wear glasses when I DJ, and yes, I do, because otherwise I don't see very well. Because like up to this point, it's pretty sharp. But then when I go any further away, it starts getting blurry. So like, since the decks are like this far away, I wouldn't really see everything properly, especially like the text on the screens would be super hard to read. And then I also like to see the crowd, you know, so I do wear glasses. Although one time it was pretty funny in Australia. It was kind of funny in retrospect, but also it kind of sucked in the moment because my glasses broke about an hour before I was gonna play my set. That was actually back in January this year, and they broke like at this part, which is like kind of a sensitive part of the glasses. And so I had to like kind of stick it back together so that I could see during the show. And I used a can opener, like the tab of a can opener, and I kind of like got it off the can, and I like stuck this piece of the glasses together with like stuck the frame back together basically for like a makeshift solution until I could get like it fixed. And so it lasted for the show, and it even lasted for the next day. And we went to an optometrist the next day to see if they had a replacement frame, but mine was quite old. So he didn't have any, but he was looking at my solution, and he was like kind of impressed because it was so inventive. And I was also actually surprised how long it lasted. But then we went to this other optometrist, long story short, and they actually happened to have something that was compatible with my frame. And the thing is that the thing that they had is golden, whereas mine was like a silver gray. And so still now I have these like two-tone glasses with a golden thing here and a gray frame. But yeah. Let's see here. Hey, another donation from Michael. Someone disliked the stream equals small pp. Also just want to say good night. 1 a.m. here in Greece. Gonna go and pass out. Thank you for the stream. Thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you for the donations. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon on Facebook again. But yeah, good night. Let's see. German engineering on the go. That is the title for the makeshift solution to put the glasses back together, essentially. Tutorial on glasses designing. I can make a tutorial on how to use a can tab to put your glasses back together if you want, but I don't think a lot of people need that. So I don't know who that would be for. Maybe it would save somebody's life, because then they can fix their glasses and they can see that a crocodile was attacking them instead of it's a real crocodile and not a pool floaty. So thank you, glasses. Thank you, INFEKT, for providing us with this video on how to fix your glasses with a can opener tab, so that I could see that it was a real crocodile and not a pool floaty. Now I talked about it for so long that I need to make that video. But my glasses are not broken, so probably won't. Anyway, what's the average day like for you? So, interesting question. And I would actually like to know that about other artists too, like what's their routine and stuff, and because I watch a ton of like videos from productivity people on YouTube, and I think it's always interesting to hear what what their routine is like and how they spend their day and stuff. But yeah, usually I get up at like 6:30 a.m. or something whenever Andy gets up because she goes to work in the morning, and I like to get up with her. Um, and then yeah, we have breakfast. I like to have my breakfast a little later, so I usually just watch something with her in the morning while she's having breakfast, and then I have my breakfast later. Um, anyway, so then I start sitting in front of my laptop, start making music, doing like things for Patreon, like giving feedback, um, just chatting with people on my Discord server, stuff like that, hanging out, and working, getting stuff done. Usually, I also like to keep a to-do list here that is like open at all times next to me. So like I have this essentially a week planner where like over here on one side you have like a little space for every day where you can write things that you want to do on that specific day, and then here you have some space for notes, which is where I usually write things that I want to get done during the week, without necessarily things that don't necessarily have to get done on a specific day. So yeah, I like to plan my week like that. I like to write my to-dos down, because then when I write them down, I don't have them in the back of my head, and then they're not bothering me. And yeah, and I like to have this on a piece of paper rather than on my phone, because it's always next to me. I can always look at it, and it's always there, you know. So whenever I'm bored or whatever, I just look down on my list, see what I have to do, and get on with it. Start doing that. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then when Andy comes back from work, which is usually at like 4 or 5 p.m., then I just spend the rest of the day with her, and we go for walks, we eat, things like that. We read. Yes. How many new ideas do you start a week? It's hard to say. It depends on the week, really. On some weeks, I start more projects. On some weeks, less. But I generally probably start an idea every day or every other day, like a new project. I like to work on music at least a little bit every day, and then, you know, sometimes it turns into 4 or 5 hour sessions. On other days, I end up doing other things more that I want to get done, you know, like writing for the masterclass or things like that. And yeah, and I also do still like the tutoring session, so that's also something that I do during the week. Yep. How do you find inspiration if you don't have an idea? Listen to music of other artists. I think that's the best way, because yeah, there's so much music out there, so many great artists, you know, and listening to it, not even necessarily dubstep at all. It can be something completely different. And then I just listen to a bunch of stuff and listen to it with my full attention, and like try to pay attention to like maybe what they did or certain elements in the track, or maybe I get intrigued because there's like a sound design technique that sounds interesting to me that I kind of want to try out. And that way, yeah, I find my inspiration from that, and then also from watching like tutorials and stuff like that about new techniques, and then I go into like Ableton and start messing with that, and that way, like, it kind of comes naturally. Yeah. Thanks for answering my question. Super helpful. I'm glad it helped. Any plans to upload again on your YouTube channel? So lately, since I've been writing a lot for the blog and for my website and the masterclass and then all the Patreon things, so I've been kind of putting the YouTube channel on hold, just because I've been essentially like liking writing a bit more than filming myself, because oftentimes when I was filming myself, I wasn't very comfortable speaking on the camera, and I would get like, for some reason I would get nervous right before filming it, and then I wasn't getting out everything that I wanted to say. Um, and so then I tried out how it is when I write stuff, and I can easily like go back and edit things that, and like rearrange ideas and stuff like that, and like have a list of, like have a structure for it and things like that. And yeah, I could do the same thing for videos, but I just find that I enjoy writing a bit more. So I've been focusing on that, but I'm still open to the idea of like uploading more videos in the future. Yeah, maybe especially when I start traveling again, I'm gonna get into like filming vlogs again and stuff like that. But who knows? We'll see. Yo, INFEKT, I got a question. Spaz Spaz is not me, but I don't know. What is the question? Was that the question? Is your question answered? Let me know. If you collab with Achios, would the title be called Infectios? Maybe. I think we could come up with something that's a bit more, I don't know, a bit more creative than that. But who knows? Coming up with titles is hard sometimes, so maybe that would end up being the name. Anyway, as a brand new artist, how best can you get your music heard by people? How do you build? Essentially, there are two things, and I wrote about this quite a lot in my masterclass too. There are two things. One is just making your music available. So like SoundCloud, self-releasing maybe on Spotify and things like that. So making your music available to be discovered in the first place. And the second thing is to work with people, and not only work, because everybody wants to collab with the big guys always, like with the big artists and whatever, but focus on the people that are in a similar situation that you're in, because those people are very eager to work with other people that are in the same situation. And because a lot of the bigger artists are like too busy to just work with anybody. And so that's why I think that it's a really good thing to like make friends with people that are on a similar level and work with them, learn techniques from them, because in the end, chances are that those people know something about production that you don't know, even if they're not like masters of production. And so in the end, you kind of gather your knowledge and slowly grow your music and also your audience, because when you collab with somebody and they have their own audience, even if it's only like 200 people or 100 people, then you know those 100 people is going to be a new audience that might find that collab interesting and listen to your music as well. So you're kind of sharing fan bases with each other and growing together. And I think that's a great thing. And that's one great thing about music and community in general, is that you work with people and you build a community, you make friends, and you grow that way. And it's nothing forced. You don't have to go on big artists' profiles and ask if they want to collab with you, because in the end, those things never really work, you know? So yeah, I hope that helps. What artists have a pretty similar sound in your opinion compared to Spaz? So Spaz he makes a lot of like the old school riddim type of sound. So I would say you can just go and listen to the old school stuff if you don't know that yet, which is like Stein, Deemed, Obey, Sepultronic, all those people, like all their old stuff is in a similar style. And then there are also some artists now that are doing that kind of style and doing it very well. Like other than Spas, Aekios has a lot of stuff that's inspired by that kind of stuff. I don't know, my brain is kind of stuck with Aekios right now, but I'm sure if I gave it some more thought and I wouldn't have the pressure on me to give you an answer right now, then I could name some more artists. But yes, I always have issues with this, coming up with answers with lists of names and artists on the spot. But anyway, Ominous too. Yeah, he also makes like a lot of old school stuff. Obeifo, which is a secret alias of somebody, has been making like super good old school inspired stuff. If you know some more, name them in the chat to help me out here. Yes. Let's see. Hey man, hope you're doing really cool. Which of your tunes would you recommend for someone who hasn't heard much of your work? Thanks. I would say listen to my latest stuff, because my latest stuff is usually what I'm the most proud of. Like, aside from what's the most popular, my latest stuff is always the one that, because those things have all the new techniques that I've learned in them. So I applied like all the new techniques, all the new like mix down things and all that. So yeah, I'm always like, I would always recommend people to listen to like whatever is the newest, like the Disruption EP. Yeah. Would you make a feedback series for your subscribers? I'm giving feedback on my Patreon in the producer tiers, and when people join my Patreon, they also can also join my Discord server, and on there they can send their like SoundCloud links or their work in progress tracks. And I always try to take time every day except Sunday to get back to everybody with detailed, constructive feedback about the productions. So yeah, and that kind of replaces like video feedbacks for me, because I like to sit and think about it for a little bit and type it out, rather than being like on the spot and having to answer after having listened to it just like that. Because I feel like I can provide a more valuable answer that way. Yeah. How can we sign to Disciple? I feel like this is a pretty common question, but all you have to do is make good music. And part of it is always luck. Like when it comes to label releases and stuff like that, like I think if you use the techniques that I talked about earlier and you make your music available to be discovered, work with people, you grow your audience, eventually you're gonna be discovered. And you don't even have to like send demos to labels and stuff like that, because they're gonna eventually come to you because they want to release your music, if it's good music. And yeah. And yeah, unique music, that's true too, if you really stand out. And that's kind of difficult because, I mean, the way that you kind of get your own unique sound is kind of like, the way that I got mine was I pulled inspiration from not only one source, because then I would just basically rip off one producer and sound exactly like them. I take inspiration from different sources, and not even necessarily from just one genre, but eventually it's like I get all this inspiration from different sources, and then I have my own techniques and ways to go about it, because I don't know how exactly they did it. So I end up coming up with my own ways, and those are things that then kind of turn into my personal style. And yeah, I think that, yeah, eventually like making unique music that really stands out is also something that can help you grow. Yep. But yeah, guys, Um, I think that'll be it for today. Um, I hope I answered most of your questions sat in a satisfying way with satisfying answers. Um, I hope you enjoyed the live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks and shout outs to Disciple for setting this up. Shout outs to Dieter. I don't know if he's listening.
Oh, I'm listening. Big love, Infect.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on today. Thank you,
Hell
everyone,
yeah.
for asking your questions. Thank you for the donations. You guys are just such legends. We love you all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly,
that was
really
awesome.
appreciate it.
Infect, where can people find you? You're all over the place. You have a Patreon. I know you have Instagram, Facebook, everything. What's it called? Where do they find it?
Yeah, everything except for Patreon, all the links end with Infect Dubstep. So actually, that's a cool tip. If you're a producer, use a permalink for all your platforms that is available, that is going to be available on every platform, so that you can have the same one, and then you can just tell people it's every platform slash Infect Dubstep. So SoundCloud, Facebook, YouTube. Oh well, Spotify doesn't really have links like that, but all the platforms slash Infect Dubstep, except for Patreon, just slash Infect. That's it.
Sick. Thank you, Infect. Thank you, Disciple fam. Catch us back here next week, same time, same Disciple channel. We're going on for the season finale of season 2 of Ask Disciple with Mode Step. So tune it in.
Oi.
All right. Thank you,
Yes.
Infect. Thanks, everyone. Big up. Disciple out.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. See you somewhere soon. Peace.